This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I am on location, Los Angeles Convention Center, IRSA, future to be known as the Health and Fitness Association, more appropriately coined. And I am here with Beth and Peter. We are talking Studio Grow. I had the opportunity to join you guys last week at your convention out here. It was awesome. Love the enthusiasm. And you guys are helping people build stronger businesses. And you are needed greatly in this space in order for us to complete the Halo effect. So welcome to your first Halo Talks.
Thanks, Pete. We're
Thank you so much.
Awesome. So you want to start off, give me your background, Beth, and tell us how you got to a place where you can opine expert testimony and helping studios get to the next level.
Absolutely. So I will say my fitness journey started about 15 years ago. I actually was obese, struggled with social anxiety disorder and depression. Of course, our doctors didn't say anything about exercise. Medication was very much a thing then. And that kind of propelled me into the group X space, running exercise as medicine. And then I met my now husband, and we launched Anytime Fitness Studios. So I've been in the space for a really long time.
And what area do you have the locations?
Yeah, so we have 9 in Illinois, 2 in Minnesota, and 1 in Florida.
Okay.
I did that for about 7 years, worked myself out of that role, and then I actually worked for SE Brands on their innovation team. Yeah, so we launched physical therapy into clubs after the pandemic, which was really insightful. And then that kind of brought me to Studio Grow. So now we're able to be in 43 countries and launch studios all over the world.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Peter?
My background was I was a professional athlete for about 9 years, played squash, hurt my knee, went into cycling as rehab, learned everything there was about indoor cycling, became a spinning master instructor, opened a couple of studios, the last one's in the Middle East, some in India. Then Lisa, our founder, asked me at one stage, because I was a client, being helped to build my studio over 7 figures in Abu Dhabi. And she said, hey, now that you've done that, would you mind sharing some of that with our clients? And so that's where my coaching journey started, and absolutely love it.
Yeah. So, Peter, let's start where you were a client of Studio Grow.
Uh-huh.
You know, what support did they give you? Obviously, you had a lot of experience before. So what are certain things that were material? And you say, hey, like there are certain inflection points in my business to get it to 7 figures, which a lot of people don't get to.
No, look, mine was doing $500,000, and I was taking 40,000 home, working 7 days out of 7, crying, thinking, what the hell am I doing? Because I could get a better job.
Yep.
And so the first thing that I got was an accountability coach, which is what we still do with all our owners. Like every single week, you got a coach to tell you, hey, you're actually doing this right, you're doing this wrong. And so the first thing that I got was a coach that said, hey, what are we looking at here? I didn't have an introductory journey. So basically it was hit and miss. People walked in. If they liked it, they came back. If they didn't, I lost them. And I had a conversion rate, which actually, funnily enough, I didn't know what it was. So 6 months later, we had good intro packs and converted more than 50% of members.
To your point, and let's dig deep on this, I think a lot of people open up studios and feel like my personality, I don't need a sales script. Like my personality is like the sales script, right? And I'm not going to teach people how to do something. I'm just going to have them watch me. So talk about like the structure, accountability, like understanding the metrics, not treating something like, yeah, you're going to become my friend, so now you're going to join. It like doesn't really work
totally.
that way.
Look, I was a master instructor for spin, but when I went to the Middle East, nobody cared. They were like, who are you? And
I wouldn't have cared, by the way.
That's
remotely,
lovely.
But that's just me.
That's lovely. I'm a cyclist
problem.
from Belgium. And thank you for caring. That's a perfect bell ring. So all joking aside, of course, when people came into the studio, I know my stuff on the bike, and so I converted quite a few people. But the thing is, it's not a strategy to rely on. Because if I wanted a day off, that was not going to work. Mm-hmm. So what Studio Grow gave me as a client was like, hey, what system have you got in place to actually make sure people either see you, find you? Because my coach said, the first coach ever said to me, do me a favor, go to a cafe or a restaurant that's less than half a mile away from you and ask people if they know your studio. And that was a light bulb moment. I went into a vegan cafe.
Yeah.
Nobody knew who I was.
Uh-huh.
And it's an ego blow, but it's also a really good thing to know, like, holy crap, I need to get the awareness out.
Well, the thing that shocked me, and we've done, so my background is we help people buy and sell companies. We also help them raise money. And I always say to them, like, what's your special sauce? Like, what's your revenue model? Like we talked about, you know, whether it's Soul Cycle, whether it's, you know, Club Pilates, like, or Solid Core, like there's like an engine. right? And if you don't know what your engine is, you can't really fine tune it because you don't even know what you're really doing. And I see a lot of these studios that like spend like $300, $500 on marketing. Like, what do you think is going to happen? Like, what earth-shattering revenue or lead gen is going to happen when you're spending $500 and you're not making an investment in your revenue? And they think it's an expense, and then they brag about it. Oh, I got 300 members. I only spent $500. Dude, you should have 600 members spend $4,000.
If I may, there's to the point. I think there's different ways people come in, and also at Studio Grow, we have clients that come in that are passionate, very driven, very charismatic, highly qualified trainers. Like I think a little bit like myself in the beginning. You know your modality, you know nothing about business.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a dangerous cocktail. So yeah. I think for those people, we are even more important than for people who come from business. We're there like for business owners that wanna scale, we're great. But I think the passionate, charismatic trainer that wants to open a studio, they definitely need support.
So Beth, when you think about, the Anytime experience, are there certain clients where you say like, I'm probably the best coach for that, or like I should be the accountability for them because I know where their journey is? I always say like, you got to understand what the movie was that you're walking into in order to understand how to fix it or how to do the sequel better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing just to know, I want to go back to in our boutique in the boutique industry, I think where we're getting it wrong. A lot of times we focus on the introductory offer, right? We're spending all of this time, you talked about marketing, all of this time to get people in the doors, but we're not focusing on our member journey after we get them in our doors. So what does it look like? How do we retain them? That is a stat that nobody in this industry has on retention. We just, it's not out there.
Right.
And so really focusing in on the processes and making sure that you're coaching your team to be able to not only get the sale, but even keep them in that customer journey through and through. And so then to caveat off of that, when you're talking about how do we pick the right coach,
right?
That's what you're asking me. It's Studio Grow or just in general?
Just in general, like when you say, and I don't know how it works, maybe whether you want to explain it or not, or just kind of overlay it. Okay, I come in, I've got 3 studios in New York City. I got a profitability issue. My leases are too high, and like I'm just like I got COVID fatigue.
Yep.
Like who picks me up? Who says like, okay, I'm the right person for that? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have such an array of amazing consultants all over the world with different levels of expertise, right? We call them subject matter experts. So Peter's actually on the team with me. We do what we call discovery calls. So we just sit down with the studio owner and we just want to understand. We're going to go through every ounce of your studio ownership journey from, are you profitable? What's your marketing look like? What are you doing? What does the sales process look like? And from there, we can kind of pinpoint and diagnose like, hey, yes, the mastermind is the right product for you because it's not right for everybody. And we are very selective in who we choose in our program as well. And then from there, we're like, okay, and this coach is going to be the right fit. So then we pair them with the coach based on that.
How do you, maybe you can tell us like, what does it cost to get into the mastermind or even be like affiliated with Studio Grow as either a member or as attending events? How does that work?
You know what? I recommend that anybody come to our free webinars. We host them all of the time. We actually have one next week.
Okay.
But they're all of the time. And it really just depends on the studio. When I talk about that diagnosis and really doing the diagnostic, we try to meet you where you're at. We have different levels of the program. And so anywhere from, on average, payments as low as $550 every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. Yep.
So $550 every 2 weeks. I think sometimes, like, I'll say to someone, hey, I'm going to help you raise money, but it's like $25,000 retainer and then like 5%, so it's $25,000. It's like, look, I'm getting you like $5 million. Like, let the process run out. So I feel very positive response saying like, hey, someone's paying for that because they know that the return on that investment is like, I get my life back. I might have a profitable studio. I'm thinking about expanding. Like I actually slept last month, so like, when you think about like what you deliver and what you're getting, that's great that you're pricing it accordingly. Some people are like, oh yeah, $99. I like talk to an executive coach like once a month. I'm like, there's like a price value proposition here and like a return on time that probably is not working somewhere because it's not priced properly.
I think.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't want to cut you off. I was just gonna say it's so much more than that though. Like we have a legal team, we have a marketing team, and we're inundated. We are in the weeds. So think of us as like, a regional director of your studio. Like we are in there working with you weekly in those accountability sessions.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No, and totally. I was actually going to say exactly the same thing. It's not just one, you don't get access to one coach, right? Like if I'm coaching a session with an advanced studio and wants to do a field that I'm not an expert in, I just call one of my other coaches in and say, hey, colleague, can you help them out? So we have different fields of expertise. That's one. And then the second thing is, as we are all owners or former owners, we have created templates and outlines for absolutely everything you can imagine. So the guesswork's out. You don't guess for anything anymore.
So you guys sound like the most awesome franchisor, but you're not a franchisor.
Yeah.
And you provide all these support services that I expect from a franchisor, and they might have we're really awesome at selling franchises, and then good luck type of thing, in your item 19 in your franchise disclosure document, if you hit one of those, good luck. And by the way, we're drafting ad funds out of your account. We're drafting technology fees, and you guys are there almost like a rescue service for franchisor support that doesn't exist. So when you look at certain brands and you say look, we're not going to use any names here. We'll bleep them out like that. I'm not going to use any brands, but I'm saying are you sometimes shocked that you're in a position where you have to be in this position to help someone, or is this how things are?
Yeah, you can go. I have an opinion, but because I work with a lot of franchisees.
Yeah, so I want to get it out because I want them to understand. I want people to understand this.
You know something? There is a value to franchises, and great franchises that we work with, they might not have everything that we do, and
so I think plugging in. Yeah.
I think there is a lot of things that even if you're a really big franchisor, you could use our services. But basically, we have a couple of really big franchises that work with us. Their franchisees, their franchisees come to us and say, hey, I get good materials, but I don't get this, and this. And then is it easier for us if it's a blank page? At times, yes. At times, no. Depends a little bit on what they do, right? Some of the marketing campaigns totally don't make sense. And then you have to deal with that because sometimes they're tied. But it's actually a nice game for us too to kind of see where can we help these guys where they feel their franchisor doesn't. So
you can almost diagnose and say look, I know that these are the strengths and weaknesses of these franchisors. I know they're growing 100%
rapidly,
and I know I can add probably 20,000 of top line revenue into an AUV of a studio if they insert us in there where the franchisor maybe doesn't have that DNA to them. Is that a fair way to think about it?
That's 100% fair.
Absolutely. And we want to collaborate with these franchisors because we know that it can be better. I'm a franchisee. I'm very, very, I love our franchisor, right? But there are certain areas of expertise that they just can't get to, or it can't get to the franchisee to that level, where when we come in and we can work with them directly, it is really beneficial for all parties involved.
Totally. Some of the franchises, not the bigger ones, but even bigger ones, they have a CMO. CMO has to come up with a marketing plan.
Right.
Now, figure this one out. We have 20 plus coaches. We have our founder who's just absolutely genius in marketing. We can come up with strategies and plans that they just don't, even the franchises don't have the resources to build that kind of materials and collaterals up. And we can test it across different modalities, countries, continents. Yeah. So I think it's just where our USP lies. And we love working with franchises. When franchisors realize, oh, these guys are actually complementary to what we do.
They're not
we
trying
love
to, you're not telling somebody they should de-identify or
totally not. No, saying, totally not.
Look, I like what you got. Now let me kind of optimize to become the top quartile of what you're doing and actually enjoy this experience. And one thing I always say, and I mentioned at your event, if you talk to a lot of franchisees, they'll tell you exactly I'd do this again or I wouldn't do this again. And it's like a tell. And it sounds like to me, it's I would do this again, but I'd bring you guys in on the front end maybe and still have until I get, when they say fasten your seatbelt, then I call you. Maybe I should take off with you.
We're actually doing that now. We have some franchisors.
I didn't even know that.
We're doing some franchisors that we're working with, and they're actually putting us in the FDD. So franchisees are working with us. Yes, let's ring that bell.
Ring it. Take a ring.
I'm excited.
It actually feels good.
It feels really good. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So that's a great way from the studio growth standpoint, from being able to bring on recurring members.
And it helps the franchisor.
Yeah. But I'm not detaching from you at any point. I'm basically we're in this for the ride.
Yep.
One thing that kind of, and I don't know if you have any CrossFit affiliates that are in your network, but one of the things with CrossFit, people think they're getting support, they're getting an operational plan, but it's no, you just bought a license and you have no exclusivity rights. And it's survival of the fittest. And that's not a great place to be when somebody can open up across the street from you. So do you have those types of clients, and do you have independents that are kind of freewheeling and be hey, let me explain the industry to you. Let me set some parameters around what we do and don't do around here, right?
It's a beautiful example. I remember a CrossFit box that was on our application. and an amazing owner, absolutely amazing owner. And she was like, yeah, I don't know if I should actually do this because I'm a CrossFit boxer. And I was like, what do you mean? So we started talking, and I kid you not, we were right before a Black Friday deal, which is one of the things that we do really well, I think, is doing that. And she was only doing month-to-month memberships and a little bit scared about signing up. Now, the long story short, about 6 weeks into the program, she had completely converted most of her member base to 12-month memberships because we just wrote up a script. How do you do this? These people are with you anyway, so they don't care, they don't mind. Yeah. And she was in tears on one of our first calls going, I should have done this years ago.
Yeah. So when you take a look at a studio and you say, you do this onboarding and accountability study, and you say, okay, look, a lot of studios come in here and they kind of burned a lot of their capital already on doing the wrong things. Is there an opportunity, I'm thinking from Integrity Square side, is there an opportunity basically maybe to provide some like working capital or like a finance company that comes in and says, hey, look, if Studio Grow says I can get from here to here, there's like a open mic, like, okay, everyone's going to listen to this. We might do this, we might not. So we'll tell you afterwards. But Studio Grow can say like, look, I got the studio concept. They got 3 locations. I know what to do. I could flick these switches and levers. I'm going to get you up to like 20, 30 grand more per month, but I need like 20 grand worth of marketing budget. Maybe somebody provides that 20 because now that entrepreneur's like, dude, like I can't like take a home equity loan or like I've tapped out everything else. Is there like a financing opportunity here, or is that something where you're like, hey, I'll bridge this for you?
I think we could bridge it for you. Yeah,
really?
I think that would be great. Yeah, honestly, the more people that we can help, the better. I think our industry has shifted hugely after the pandemic, and we're seeing more and more studios, opening all over the world. But there still are some that are coming to us with that scarcity mindset that are just, they're burnt out financially. They need a little bit of help. Obviously, we try to work with them too internally. And, as they grow their revenue, we can make some customized payment plan options and stuff with them so that we can build that up. But yeah, I think that there would be a lot of clients interested in that.
Now, a lot of studio owners are under like 5 or 10 year franchise agreements. So they're basically locked in. It's personal guarantee on those. And they also sign 5-year leases or maybe 10-year leases, or at least have an extension. We get a lot of calls from groups, given we do mergers and acquisitions, say, hey, can you help me sell my studio? My business model, I can't do that. From a financial standpoint, just not the amount of work it takes to find those people and to execute on it. How do you help people get to an exit period and then say like, here's a business broker, or here's like, go put it on biz buy sell, or I always tell people like, look, go find people that love your studio, and they're like, there's your buyer base, right? Like your members, your instructors who get an SBA loan. So what are some of the things that you guys have looked at? Because that seems to be like something where like nobody has like an exit, and then when they get to the exit, they're like, I can't tell anybody about this, or else like my studio's gonna fall apart. It's not gonna fall apart. Like people have assets, they sell them, they buy them, Yeah.
I'll start and then I'll let you take it over. I think the biggest thing is when we do that studio diagnostic, and even though it sounds crazy, even if they're just starting out, we're talking through and coaching what their exit strategy is in mind at the start.
Good.
So we want to understand, is your goal to sell in 10 years? Are you looking to license franchise? Are you looking to expand? Do you just want this one owner studio? What are your goals? But profitability obviously is our number one thing. And I think recurring revenue is huge. Mm-hmm. A lot of people in the boutique space weren't on recurring revenue. And so getting them there and really focusing on their pricing and product stack.
Yeah.
Yeah, similarly, right? I do a lot of what we call our stage 3, 4 studios, whatever that means at the moment. They're quite larger studio owners, or larger as if they're in revenue. And so basically it's every 90 days we're going to check out, hey, are you still on path what you want to be doing? Because a lot of these owners, they join us in the beginning and they're like, oh, I want to own 15 studios and franchise this out. And then when they're in the weeds of this, they're like, actually, that's not what I want.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me open 3 studios that are company owned, but how do I even go to an exit? And so we have partners with whom we go. We have obviously legal that can look at valuation. Yeah. But it comes, like Beth says here, it comes really from like, hey, you got to prep this from day one. Because if you're sending month-to-month memberships, your accounts receivable are very low. Who's going to want to buy that, right? So what is your accounts receivable? What's your long-term contract? So we build it up towards like an exit. So, but it comes from the owner. If I have people that are like, hey, this is my pension, as long as I can work from home or not work at all, I don't want to sell. That's the whole thing. Look at the owner and then build a pathway towards that.
Yeah. I'd love to, we'll take this offline, but I feel like if we can help people solve that and let them understand that, let someone come or go find somebody that you can almost like take 6 to 12 months and like have a succession plan and an exit strategy at the same time. And that might be one of your top 10 members. And people are afraid to talk to their members about that because they think the worst thing, like, oh, the lights are going to go out here. I got to like rescue this. If you start that conversation, be like, hey, I'm looking to retire. I'm looking to do this or what have you. It's not as like, it doesn't create like a vulture type of environment. And also you get comfortable that it's going to continue on with your culture. So I don't think there's a good solution for this. We put up a channel, Dave and I, on Biz Buy Sell and try to get people. We just had a lot of random, emails come in. We tried to do something with another group that had a brokerage business, but it felt like they were like hawking deals around. And I feel like somebody's got to like curate and say, okay, in your city, you got a certain amount of instructors. Like, let's actually know who these people are. Who can get an SBA loan? How does that work? Most people get cash out just on an SBA loan by somebody else guaranteeing it. I feel like nobody's like giving them a roadmap for that. So that was something that I'd love to. I want to help people, and let's bring in new, fresh somebody who's looking at the studio saying like, hey, I'll take it from here. I feel like a lot of people let their lease, expire, and then they call their Mariana Tech or Mind Body or Wellness Living and say, hey, we're canceling, and they're like, dude, what? Why didn't you tell me like 6 months ago? Like, let me help you keep the studio open. So I don't know if you want to add on to that.
Well, we can take it offline, but I'm really interested to hear
Let's put it
your
online
thoughts.
and we'll take it offline.
Okay, well, I'm interested because the other side of that, look at you. Oh,
that's a good one.
The other side of that is we have so many studios now opening up all over the place. And one of the things that we've just launched is how to launch your studio successfully and profitably. We did that with all 73 studios that we launched in 2023. All of them were profitable. And now we're seeing more and more of that as after the pandemic, people are like, I want to be a part of this industry. I want to open up. We're seeing more of this holistic approach. So wellness, med spa type things encompassing fitness. And one of the things we have to do is we have to look at your budget. We got to figure out where you're going to get the funding. And so we help them with that. But maybe this is a segue into how you might be able to help us help them.
We're trying to do deals like $3 million of EBITDA and more. But what I want to do is I want to make sure, I don't want to say no to anything, right? I want to basically say, hey, look, you try to sell 3 studios, Studio Grow, marketplace. Like, this is where you go and you do like this 30-day, training of like, this is how you sell your studio and get confident and know like all the nomenclature and the EBITDA and all the KPIs. Then go out and do it with confidence.
Can you just say EBITDA for me one more time?
EBITDA, adjusted EBITDA, pro forma EBITDA.
You've even got the cap.
EBITDA with extraordinary expenses that are always recurring, but they're still extraordinary for this one time when I'm selling it to you. Multiply by 6. Bam.
Love it.
Anyway, okay. Last thing. One, I'm glad I met you guys. This is going to be awesome. We're going to make a lot of change, and we're going to get more money into the space. We're trying to solve loneliness, diabetes, and obesity. In a capitalist society, we got to make sure people have the 7 out of 10 letters, which is capital. So that's like our goal, is to try and be the nexus of that. But what you guys are doing is amazing. I didn't really fully appreciate what you guys are doing until I showed up at your event and we had this conversation. So I'm very energized to be a part of it. And in closing here, we like quotes. So if you got any quotes that you live by or certain things, if you got a good one.
Mine's easy because it's been on my Facebook, which I never open anymore. But
I don't know my password.
No, exactly. But my quote has always been a Socrates one. He who knows he doesn't know knows. And in our industry, I thought I knew a lot. And then I opened the studio and noticed that I knew spinning and nothing else. And then I had to learn marketing, management, and everything else around. So if you don't know what you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah, love it.
I don't know how to top that.
You don't have to top it, just go parallel.
But I was going to say, at Studio Grow, we have a thing where we say you can't grow what you don't measure, and we find that most studio owners don't know their numbers. They can't grow, and so really getting into it and not having that blind eye, but digging into the numbers and letting us help you to grow the studio.
You can't grow what you don't measure.
Yeah,
we live by that at Studio Grow.
And then nail it before you scale it. Jeff Ryan told me that once. All right, awesome. So go Halo. Go Studio Grow. We're going to get more and more entrepreneurs in here, give them confidence to add more locations, affect more people, and you guys are doing an integral part of that value chain. So great to meet you, and look forward to working with you guys.
Thank you so much.